Hey there, monkeys. Grab that cup of coffee, kick back, and relax. We'll get started with a SITREP in just a minute. Check out our latest coffee from Costa Rica at monkeyworksus.com. All right. Welcome there, Monkey Nation. This is going to be your SITREP. It's 3/14/2024, and we're going to get into what's going on around the world. We're coming to you live here from the great state of Texas in the Monkey Lounge. And I will tell you, once again, we have been caught meddling in someone else's world, so to speak. We've got a long history of it. And the deep state just continues to try to just stir things up, to control the narrative, and to get everybody's eyes, focused on different things except for their stuff. They don't want you to know what they're up to. But we have caught them red-handed this time. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And speaking of red-handed, we're going to talk about Boeing and their latest little scandal. Man, I tell you what, you couldn't catch me flying on one of their aircraft right now if it was the only thing left out of Haiti, so to speak. So, but yeah, let's get into the deets. So as we peel this banana back, we're going to kick it off as always over here in SkyGlass, and we are sitting at 245 up, and then as we peel back that layer that we always see super heavy in terms of the trainer activity. Those are kind of irrelevant in the big picture of what we're looking at, okay? And so we take those out, strip them from the content that we're looking at on our screen here. Text 2s, 82. So that's a high number. EC45s is almost 40, and it's 38. T38s, those are your lawn darts, 25 of those. As the weather starts to kind of boil up here over the next 24 hours here in Texas, those numbers for trainers are going to probably drop significantly because the weather's not going to be conducive to that type of flight environment. So, okay, now we've talked about that. Let's do what is really up that we may want to look at. Okay, H60 number again, very very high, northeast, big concentration. This stuff right down here, kind of you want to take those out of the equation, but we're still sitting at 41, that's up. That's a good number. 6 to 8s are usual. So there is that aspect. And if we look at active air refuelers that are currently up over the United States, and this we just pull in the B76200 Pegasus, as well as the KC-135s, you can see pretty active as well. That's a very good indicator that there are a lot of fighters up right now also. All right. And I expect that tempo is going to just maintain. We look at banana copters. We got 10 of those up. Looks like only a handful here across the United States. Imagine if we jump over to Europe, we're going to see that, England, man, they fly the daylights out of these things over there. All right, and that's where we are. If you look at Europe in terms of total military aircraft up right now, got a little bleed in here on the screen. Remember, this is looking at everything that is on our screen here. 198, so that's a pretty high number when it comes to Europe this late in the afternoon. So, all right, back over to CONUS. Let's take a look at our watch list. And you're going to notice that we have, well, that's a C-17 I was just pointing to, but that's not what I want to look at. This is, if I can get it, stay on my screen. Let's try that one more time. This is going to be your survey flights. Just notice there's 43 of those up, northeast concentration, right? Why is that? Because that's where most people live, right? That time of year, it's really not that time of year for survey flights. But again, we will continue to track those and do another roll-up for you here, and probably another week or so we'll dig in. Now, this one I thought was interesting because that right there is your agency buoys. That's your gray birds. And they are just to the north of Haiti right now. Altitude looks like they're headed to Puerto Rico, if I had to guess. But anytime you get your agency buoys on the screen, you always kind of wonder what they're up to, like Israel, for example. All right, there's another G5. We got a handful of those up. A lot of C-17 activity. And then we get over here, R135. That's up to the kind of that northern corridor. And then AWACS, Advanced Early Warning over the North Sea. That's going to be your Italian intel bird, and that is not the picture. For some reason, I don't know what's going on with SkyGlass this morning, but every time I click on a picture, it wants to just give me the R135 picture like that, for example. But yeah, that's kind of where we are relative to Europe. Again, C-17 headed what looks to be into maybe Egypt or somewhere there in the Middle East. All right. Okay, let's look at the intel side of the house. And just notice, again, very concentrated southern border California, but that spot, they are looking at something in that northern California, Reno area. I don't know what it is, but they have been continuing to produce aircraft activity in that region, whether it's the R-135s, the AWACS, what have you. All right. And then here again, this is going to be the intel side of the house. Just notice you get down a little bit further into Bahrain. You can see some stuff going into Kuwait. That's out towards the Persian Gulf. Israel, of course, you expect to see it there. All right. And then we go over now. I will tell you, it's a little lighter. Intel number's 22. So over for 3 days, it's a little light. You can see some stuff happening there in South Korea. We go down to Australia. Don't have any intel stuff in there, but we do have it in Malaysia yet again. Right? Seem to be very active over there. Right. Let's bring it back home to the E6 activity. This is TACAMO, take charge, move out. This is a U.S. Navy platform that is talking to your nukes. All right. Specifically, really talking to them on subs, but just notice that Gulf of Mexico, you got bookends there, both sides of the Gulf of Mexico. I do find that interesting. That means you got probably U.S. subs in the Gulf of Mexico that they are talking to. Up the East Coast, very close to Norfolk. All right, and that's going to be your E6s. Now we go over to AWACS, and again, you see it right there, the same spot as the intel community was, kind of in that, Nevada, close to Reno, Central California. Notice the broken traces out over the Pacific, right? I do have a little blip up here in Alaska. Don't see that very often, but notice what we do see are broken traces. That one's headed out towards maybe the Caribbean, all right? The other one out over the Pacific. You don't really see them break those traces very often. So whatever they were doing, they didn't want us knowing specifically what they were up to. And then there's those little man-in-the-middle circles. You can see that's southern France. You get up a little further north over Poland. You can see same thing, man-in-the-middle. And then notice they ran up towards the northern end of Norway and Sweden. And then we go down. I'm looking to see if I have any activity over like the Red Sea, Persian Gulf. I don't. Anything over Japan. I see a little blip of one taking off, and then it goes quiet. All right. So we do have them over there, which will tell you they're worried about something. Now, this is going to be that E7, which is it's the latest variant of an AWACS. Australia, for some reason, always just goes out, probably training flights, kind of between them and New Zealand. I always do it. All right, let's talk about the R135 activity. And that's kind of the strange one. It heads over towards Michigan and Wisconsin. But you know what? You've had flashbang in the area. That could be why. And then, of course, this one is a very unique or an unusual look when it comes to what the R135 does. Normally, just you see them going completely around Kaliningrad. For some reason, this one just stayed to the south and went back and forth. And then you can see them rounding the horn. That's right off the coast of Russia up to the north. All right. And then we'll go over to Japan, and you can see once again out there towards Taiwan. Now, I do see an indicator that the United States is starting to put some assets into Asia. All right. Now, this is going to be your C-17s. And just notice the traffic in and out of Bahrain and, you know, the Middle East. Notice the little squiggly lines. I almost think this may be some of the drops as they kind of go over that area, because that's very close to Gaza. Okay. So maybe that's where, you know, they're dropping things on people. And then I see one in and out of Beirut. What's that all about, right? Probably your agency boys stirring up the pot for Israel. Okay, and then very unique in terms of what's over the United States. Again, last 3 days, C-17s, 160 flights total, but it does definitely look very coastal, you know, either East Coast or West Coast. So notice this one down to Panama. Right now, you know, we've got some unrest happening in Panama as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and then a little flurry up there to Alaska. All right, B703J or Joint Star. Just one little flight that looks to be headed off the northeast coast. And so I'm not really sure why we don't see too much out of them. It's kind of a dated platform, and they probably have other things that are doing that work now, right? But it's still up. They still fly it. And, of course, Israel flies it, and that's mapping a battlefield. It's really what that aircraft does in its specialty, all right? Now, let's look at the gas standpoint. This is going to be your tankers last 3 days, 263 flights, but notice the flurry of activity off southern coast of California down towards Baja, up towards the northern border, and then off our eastern seaboard and in the Gulf of Mexico. But see this one, a little air refueler headed down towards Central America. Wonder what that's all about. Now, that could have been a KC-135 going in as a reach, just, you know, transporting stuff, but that's not really your go-to. Then notice a little bit of an uptick in terms of the air refueling activity over Europe. Again, that just would be an indicator we have a lot of fighters up right now, all right? Italy, for some reason, they are just hanging out on top of Italy, and probably just feeding the machine there in the Mediterranean. One thing I don't see, I see a broken trace headed down towards maybe Somalia or Djibouti. But when I look on the board, Djibouti's clean. So, and then this one right here, I'm going to pause it for a second because I want to talk to this. That's Hawaii. All right. Notice those really long traces headed out towards the southeastern Asian Pacific. All right. That is a very good indicator of small aircraft needing refueling to get across that part of the water. That's a lot of area to cover for fighters to get from Hawaii out to that area in either the Philippines or down into Okinawa, whatever it may be. You have to have air refuelers. All right. Bigger aircraft don't need that. They can make the trip. In fact, maybe a 737 from Hawaii could probably make the trip, stopping in Guam and then heading on over. It may even make it most of that way. But that's kind of the smallest of the aircraft. If you look at bombers, everything else, those things can fly all the way over, no problem at all, without doing a refueling stop, all right, or actually air refueling. So again, this is a big indicator that we're moving some fighters out to Southeast Asia. All right, so that tells you something has changed, or they're worried about something that they're going to try to contain. Maybe it's the Taiwan piece, and we're just putting in that containment force. We're not fighting for Taiwan. That's a given. They've said that. Okay, so that brings us back to our main page and into the news cycle. Let's get into the deets here. Starting off, this, you want to talk about caught red-handed. Now, this isn't the CIA piece of it, but this is actually going to be the Boeing aspect, and this is a very bad data point for, from a publicity standpoint. Oh, man. I don't know who did this, but given all of the things that are happening right now with Boeing, the last thing you need is this black eye, okay? Boeing was caught overriding the camera footage of work on the MaxJet door that blew out. That was the Alaskan Air. You may remember that. They cannot identify the employee who worked on it. Well, listen, I'm going to throw a little flag on that part right there, because I will say this, that anybody that was on that shift, that was working on that door, they know who works in those zones. They know who works on the doors by shift. There's no mystery when it comes to the Boeing aspect. Now, if the feds came in and were asking for the security camera footage of that, and it was deleted, well, yeah, that's criminal activity right there. So just, keep your eye on this one, because that is very bad, okay? It's very bad. Like I said, I don't care if Boeing was flying the last flight out of Haiti right now, you wouldn't catch me getting on one of these jets, because they've got some serious quality assurance issues going right now. All right, over to Swift Air. This is going to be our immigrant machine. Just notice the amount of flights. This one right here, that's headed into the DR, okay? Haiti's over on this side. The fact that they are flying from Miami down to this end, it's a little concerning. All right. I would say you're probably getting ready to see a large influx of Haitians in South Florida. And remember, if you go back to the point where we had about 15,000 Haitians show up at the Eagle Pass, right? That was probably about 2 years ago, roughly. And that was the only time that Biden actually said, we're actually kicking all of them out. We're going to send them back to their home. Just remember that, okay? Remember, this is a guy that grew up in an African-American church. And so the minute the Haitians showed up en masse at our southern border, that was the only time I've ever seen Flashbang actually talking about we're getting rid of all of them, which, by the way, was a big lie, because at the end of the day, I actually tracked the flights, and we got rid of around 20%, 21% that went back, and those were just fighting age males. Everybody else, come on, we sent them up to New York. We sent them all over our country like the rest of them. So just pay close attention to that from that standpoint, all right? Okay, let's talk about Flashbang. Somebody has not told the big guy that he is not going to be the candidate of choice at the end. And I guess he's gone rogue on his handlers, because he's still out on the campaign trail. And it's just, hey, the entertainment value of this should be good. He doesn't. In fact, let's just get over here to what's happening with him in the polls. It says here, the post State of the Union poll, it says his approval rating drops. Yet again, I don't know how much further it can really go. The numbers are being pumped up falsely, right? Okay. But then it looks like Trump's lead grows. All right. So for all you Trump monkeys out there, that's good. That's good. That's what we want to see. But of course, we saw that in the last election cycle too, and we know what happened there. So just pay close attention to that, because you'll go back to the news cycles and go, oh, wait a minute. We show how many people show up at the campaign stuff for Flashbang, and it's pretty much nobody. You go to the rallies for Trump, and it's 50,000 people packed with a line outside waiting to try to get in. And the same thing happened back in the previous election, right? And you go, none of this makes sense. Your mind is not lying to you. That's the media that's lying to you. It's that Mockingbird media, all right? Okay. Now, this is the red-handed piece. U.S. trying to overthrow Netanyahu's government. The senior Israeli official says, yeah, they got caught yet again. Remember back in the Kenyans days when Obama was in, we got caught then too. That was straight up red-handed, and Bibi even came out and said it. Hey, you guys, you quit messing with my politics. He said it again when Flashbang got in, and of course that was when he was under full control of his handler. And since that has gone, now he has just completely gone rogue. And it's, it's still the same, though. Nothing has changed. He is not pro-Israel, right? So that right there will come back to bite the United States. Just know that, all right? Okay, here's your Bohica moment. You didn't think it was possible, but let me tell you, if you're about to go to war, you're going to try to do everything you can to pull every bit of money. Don't think for a second that all of the Black Ops program money, not all of it, but a big chunk of it is also, that stuff is being funneled into the Ukraine. Now, I told you in the last SITREP that we had boots on the ground with yellow armbands. That has not changed. Those folks are still on ground. We suspect it's probably NATO forces that are in there that are doing some forward observer activity, as well as probably engaging in some of the combat activity with the drones. Not a lot of stuff is happening in terms of stuff being popped off from the Ukraine standpoint. Now, from the Russian side, yes, it is. We'll look at that map in a minute. But U.S. is, once again, I don't know where they get the money. They're sending Ukraine $300 million in weapons, despite lacking funds to replenish its own stockpiles. Now, that's the scary part, because here we are very short on our own stuff that we would need to basically defend ourselves should the need arise, and yet we are just continuing to pump it into Ukraine. That goes to show you, just like I said in the last SITREP, we have a stronghold there, all right? And the CIA went in there in 1948. They've been there ever since. And I've given you plenty of articles just reiterating that fact, all right? So whether it's labs or just the sheer fact that, that is a place we like to launder money out of, all right? Goes way, way, way beyond that, but I'm just putting it out there yet again because someone somewhere maybe the light will come on for them and go, hey, wait a minute, something's not adding up, right? All right, now speaking of not adding up, this will break your heart. I know a lot of West Point graduates, and I can tell you those guys are pretty torqued right now about this right here. They removed from their mission statement, duty, honor, country. And now it says something very stupid that has absolutely nothing to do with the love of our country. Their new mission statement is to build, educate, train, and inspire. Oh my goodness. So this right here, I really wonder how many people are pulling their kids out of West Point right now. But yeah, that just kind of tells it all right there. All right. Yeah. Because, when we're fighting a battle, we really want everyone to just be inspired. Yeah. Listen, Sparkle Fart, get out there and just be inspiring to everybody. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Okay. I'm telling you, this right here could end up being Flashbang's Benghazi moment. So we've now deployed an elite Marine team to protect the U.S. Embassy in Haiti that we supposedly had already evacuated everybody out. So there's nobody there, but we need boots on the ground to protect the building to make sure that it doesn't get ransacked or anything else. So yeah, you can see some of this. This is supposedly, I think this is out in front of the embassy. But this team, it's an anti-terrorism security team known as the FAST team, right? Dispatched as chaos reigns in the streets. So anyway, it's you've got another revolution happening down there. It's a failed state. We talked about that as well in the last SITREP. But don't think for a minute that if things get really, really bad, that these guys will have support from the current administration to go in there and pick them up and rescue them. They will probably end up fighting it out just like Benghazi. And this will end up being another Benghazi, another Afghanistan, whatever it may be, yet another blemish on the Flashbang administration and their lack of ability to manage anything other than just manipulating and trying to overthrow governments and take out leaders. All right. Okay. Now, I've told you many, many times when we were talking about all of the immigrant camps, and I said there is one on the island in Guantanamo Bay. It shocked me when I saw it was there. I didn't know it was there. I found it, and yeah, it is there. This confirms it. This is actually from Open Source Intelligence Defender on Twitter. They do a great job of just grabbing really cool data sometimes. It's amazing. But this just is a confirmation. It says here that the White House and other senior members of the flashbang administration are reportedly discussing the possibility of using Guantanamo Bay Naval Base in southeastern Cuba as a refugee processing camp. Well, guess what? It's already there. And I've mentioned that in the past, but just kind of gives you a lay of the land. And just it's a confirmation, right? Okay, well, you know what? Let's talk this, and then let me get into some numbers here real fast as we talk about flashbang. All right. China is warning that this proposed TikTok ban will come back to bite the United States. Well, listen, if you haven't figured this out, what is going on is that you've got a third-party manipulator that is got a propaganda tool inside the United States. Is it bad? Absolutely, it's bad. But what's really going on is that they are starting to infringe upon the DARPA-created products, which is going to be your Facebook, okay, and YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, all the other stuff. But TikTok is starting to put a dent in their ability to control the narrative. So just remember that. So when they say they're taking away TikTok, it's so that they can purify the solution on the social media front when they're trying to control the narrative, right? And that's us, not China. Is China doing it? Absolutely, yeah. The stuff that they put in there versus the Chinese TikTok, night and day difference, right? Theirs is educational. Over here, it's just mind-numbing garbage that people just can constantly sweep the screen to go on to the next bit of mind-numbing garbage. So anyway, there is that aspect. Now, let me do this. I want to hop over to the headline piece because this I thought was important. We went and grabbed the data. When you start talking about this influx of people coming into the country and the burden that it puts on the social aspects in our country, and I don't mean like social platforms, I'm talking about society as a whole from a financial burden, all right? And so if you look at this peak, you see this like bathtub, and you see the real tall peak. That was 2013. The highest it's been, I think, in our history was during the Obama administration, right? Not a shocker. They want everybody reliant on the government. Well, then Trump comes in, and you can see it starts to, just right above my head, it starts to go down. The trend is down. And in fact, it had a big drop off. And it wasn't because, Trump was against those that were on, welfare. What it was is the economy was better and people didn't need the welfare, and they were out actually getting real jobs and working and contributing to society. Well, then COVID hit. Boom, you get a little spike. It goes back up to a number around 40 million or so. But if you look at what is happening, and take away the snap screen, right now, so in 2023, we were up to 42 million. So it's back on, it's headed back on the rise yet again. All right. And it says that in 2022, it was at 41 million. That's about where it was when it hit the COVID spike. And then it has since continued to increase. They're forecasting that they'll be at 42.2 million for this year. All right. So that's a pretty high number when it comes to society being on the dole here in the United States. But a lot of that is because they're pushing so many immigrants into the country that this number is going to continue to boost and continue to grow. And so that is a number we need to watch, because as you see it going, remember, unlike people that are usually on the welfare programs that really do need it, okay, the government isn't trying to get them back into the employment cycle. They want them to be, just on the take, right? They want them dependent on the government. They can't function for themselves, right? But these folks that are coming in, they're being given jobs, they're being given training, they're giving all these other things that the typical person here in the United States as an American really doesn't get. So eyes on that one. It's, again, yet a data point for you. But as we watch our border stuff continue to spike, that's a number we need to keep our eyes on. Okay. Let's see here. And the reason I say that is because they're taking jobs from people, right? I just said they are different programs in a roundabout way. the people coming into our country are given more than the people that are in our country, right? That's the bottom line. Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify that before we moved on. All right. This is going to be your NOTAM. Just notice the same stuff. It looks like nothing really has changed when it comes to Europe. United States, same way. We do have that little teal box. That is going to be out here. When I say teal, that's a red box, not the color teal. Teal aircraft box. That's going to be NOAA, right? The weather guys. And they are basically conducting more stuff out over the Pacific Ocean as this, yet again, wave after wave after wave. It's springtime now, so you can expect that's going to probably increase more so than it has. But these are those giant atmospheric rivers that just continue to come into the United States. All right, we'll bounce into a couple of bases. I do believe we have troop deployments happening yet again. This is Biggs Army Airfield. I see a lot of aircraft coming inbound. This one's from Houston, from Kansas City, Eastern Airlines. And I don't know who these other ones are. That one right there, Glex. These two at the bottom are intelligence platforms that are operating out of that airport. But if we look at where these guys are going, let's look at the scheduled departures. This one looks to be headed to Iceland, so that's troops, and to Frankfurt, more than likely. Both of these are troops, right? Atlas Air 6767. All right, this one's coming in from, that's going to be Fort Hood. All right. So, yeah. So it looks like we are seeing, yet again, more troops being sent over. Remember, we're latest number from a NATO perspective with the U.S. troops in Europe. I think it was 100,000 was the goal. They've exceeded that. And it looks like now we've got more actually going that direction. All right, now over to Dover. And a lot of Cessnas on the board, but this one, again, I think this is troops. This one's coming in from Kentucky. That is UPS. All right, rolling out of Louisville. That's going to be their home base operations. So that's probably empty. Then it's going to RZE Poland 747-800. It's either carrying troops, very likely, or maybe M1 Abrams or artillery, things like that, or both. All right, this is going to be Ramstein. Just see the Camber flight coming in from Kuwait. And let me go down a little further. It looks like an Airbus that came in. It looked like that came in from Kuwait, went to Frankfurt. I'm not sure what that's about. That actually could be immigrants. We are taking them out of Kuwait. We bring them to the United States. We put them on commercial flights. That's where that number, when you started hearing about the 320,000 that the Flashbang administration have brought into the United States, that's part of that. Okay. All right. And then there's another Camber flight. Scheduled departure, destination unknown, 777-200 rolling out of Ramstein. Okay, RZE Poland. Now, let's look. This is a forward operating base. The only ones I see coming in is, as I kind of go through the lineup here, are the Brits. And yet again, they look to be, that's an Airbus that came in, round trip, all right? So it looks like the Brits are actually putting some folks' boots on the ground. And yes, thus. When you take yes and thus, you combine them, you get yes. Just gotta love this brain popping off in the AM and on a live show. It's always good. All right. Anyway, the yellow armbands, thus the yellow armbands. That's where I was going. All right. Just doing a little word blend for you this morning. All right. Look at this right here. Putin deploys troops along the Finland border in response to the NATO accession. So, yeah, NATO's building up troops. Putin's building up troops. The PMs that are in the area are kind of saying, well, we kind of expected that. But this piece right here, this just kind of dovetails into it. As you can see, these are the Ruskies on this side of the border. That's your border. Not much of a border, is it? So, but yeah, let's go down here to the headline side. And let me just point something out. One, we're going to talk about Germany. Germany has decided to put all of its long-range tourist missiles on combat readiness. Again, you hear of the words out there, right? This is coming from the NATO countries, including the United States, right? Because we are part of NATO. You hear the word conscript, right? You're talking about draft, okay? You're hearing drafts from all of the NATO nations. You're hearing everything's going on to, real-time alert, combat readiness. It's I'm telling you, we're getting very close, folks. Very, very close. Now, if you look at what's going on inside Ukraine, just notice there's not a lot of blue in there. That little green dot you see dead center of your picture, you can see it's kind of hidden behind some of the red. That is the report on the yellow armbands in that particular region where they have had sightings of them. The rest of this is Russia popping stuff off. Those red icons that show the missile defense system, like a little vehicle with the thing on the back, that is the only thing Ukraine is doing, and that's firing drones into the interior of Russia, which is it's only gonna make them mad. All right, but nothing's really changed other than the fact that they don't look like they are actually shooting anything off from a Ukraine perspective. So they're conserving. Well, they're out, but they're conserving because if they go into spring offensive, all the stuff that we're pushing in, the extra things, the $300 million that we just gave them to buy more artillery, et cetera, that's all, they're pushing it all into the region right now. That's thus the exercise. Okay. And then here again, right? Mess around and find out. Putin warns the West, Russia is ready for a nuclear war. Again, this is just a data point, but this guy is saying it a lot. Okay, more than anybody else on the planet. He throws the N-word out there quite a bit. And I don't think he's bluffing. I do believe that he is all ready to be all in on the nukes. All right. This is going to be your Brits, just to show you a couple of things. It looks like Tallinn they're coming out of, and then they were near Islamabad in an Airbus, but we don't see that on this map. Right? All I do see is one bouncing out, headed southbound. All right, National Cargo, very active and busy. A lot of 747s rolling in and out, but where are they going? This one's Hong Kong. The rest of these, look at this, coming out of India, headed into the Middle East. I don't know what that's all about, but I do, we'll keep monitoring it. That is interesting. And then, of course, this one coming out of Central America, headed to Anchorage, Alaska. That, I believe, is probably an immigrant move. All right, I'm pretty confident they are picking folks up on a 747, and they're bringing them up here to Anchorage, Alaska. All right. Now, down here to Djibouti, we talked a little bit about that, and I did see a couple aircraft early on, but it looks like that is since disappeared from the board. So looks like Djibouti is clean. We did see some things headed that direction, but Djibouti is clean. All right. And then last one here, Western Global. I've got it. Los Angeles to Hong Kong. I don't think this is anything more than just... this is going to be a revenue flight for them, just doing a cargo run. I don't think it's military related. So, all right, listen, folks, that is going to do it for your SITREP today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Don't forget on Patreon, we will have Under the Radar. We're going to talk about weather this time coming up this weekend. And then, of course, our Monkey Minutes. So you guys keep that powder dry. Stay frosty. We'll talk soon. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. You can check out the latest gear and products by selecting the QR code on your screen now or go to monkeyworksus.com.